happy to answer all of your questions.
So I just wanted to start by saying something to the parents who are grieving for the loss of their adult daughter. I only knew your daughter for the briefest periods at debating competitions when we were teenagers about 33 years ago. I was 17 years old and I think that she was 16 years old. And in losing that person, your daughter, you suffered a terrible loss. And you did not deserve the frenzied politicisation of the circumstances of your daughter's death of the past week. And I have thought long and hard about the implications for you of what I feel that I need to say today. And I hope that whatever else happens from this point, that you will understand that in saying today that the things that are being claimed to have happened did not happen, that I do not mean to impose anything more upon your grief. But I hope that you will also understand that because what is being alleged did not happen, I must say so publicly. Prior to last Friday's story in the ABC, no one in law enforcement or the law or politics or the media ever put any substance or any specific allegations to me at all. I was aware over the last few months of a whispering campaign. Had the accusation ever been put to me before they were printed, I would have at least been able to say the only thing that I can say, likely the only thing that I'm ever going to be able to say, and it's the truth, and that is that nothing in the allegations that have been printed ever happened. Even now, the only information I have about the allegations is what has been circulating online and in certain media outlets. The allegations appear to be about a period in early 1988 during an end-of-school debating competition at Sydney University. Their consideration of the matter and staying silent, following the rules, is a very difficult decision. While I have followed the rules and stayed silent, I have been subject to the most wild, intense, unrestrained series of accusations that I can remember in modern Australian politics. Maybe that's the new normal. I hope for everyone's sake it's not. A very difficult part of following those rules was that my colleagues have become the target of allegations and speculation themselves. My colleagues are my friends, and I'm deeply sorry to them for that. I followed the rules. I did precisely the same thing the former opposition leader did, and I waited for the police to conduct and conclude the process that they currently had on foot. I make no criticism of the former opposition leader. I now understand what he went through. He also followed the rules and he did a difficult thing asked of all of us by law enforcement authorities. I think a difference for the former opposition leader was that for him, while the police process was on foot, the entire Australian media left the issue to be dealt with by the authorities and did not start an attempt to conclude a public trial by media. There weren't any calls for him to stand down or public reporting of anonymous, unsourced, untested material designed to try someone in public while they're duty bound to remain silent. Indeed, when something similar happened to the former leader of the opposition, everyone followed the accepted process, and for a very long time they did that. With me, certain outlets couldn't even give it a week without trying, possibly convicting me publicly with allegations. Perhaps another difference is that I've never had any kind of formal or substantive detail or any detail at all about this matter of what was actually being alleged. Nothing like that has ever actually been put to me. Up until last week, central to both our justice system and Australian journalism was that in reporting, just like in the justice system, there was always a basic foundational starting point that at the very least, for anything resembling a fair process, the accusation would need to be put to the person being accused. Before last Friday, all I can say is that I had heard, I think about November last year, a rumour that was being spread by a small number of people that I had somehow offended against someone decades ago in a way that was never specified to me. Something that I am just personally struggling to even wrap my head around is that all of this has happened and I have never been contacted in any substantive form by anyone putting to me the details of what appears is now being alleged against me. No one put anything in any detail to me seeking a response. None of the senior politicians or ex-politicians that have known about these allegations and rumours have ever put them to me. No journalist has ever put the detail of the allegations to me in a way that would allow seeking a response. Not ever. All I know about the allegations is what I've read in the media. Before politics, I was a Crown prosecutor. I worked in and believed in our justice system, and I still do. As a prosecutor for years, I helped victims. I prosecuted in trial and at sentence the most serious sexual assaults against women and children. That was my job before politics. I always did so trying to respect the rights of the people who were accused, but I always gave everything I had to doing right by the victim in the often traumatic process of the justice system. I've given the bulk of my adult working life to public service and the law. I have given absolutely everything I had in the tank over the last year to our government, which has been desperately trying to help the country out of the worst crisis in its modern history. If I stand down from my position as Attorney General because of an allegation about something that simply did not happen, then any person in Australia can lose their career, their job, their life's work based on nothing more than an accusation that appears in print. If that happens, anyone in public life is able to be removed simply by the printing of an allegation. Every child we raise can have their lives destroyed by online reporting of accusations alone. My guess is that if I were to resign and that set a new standard, well, there wouldn't be much need for an Attorney General anyway, because there would be no rule of law left to protect in this country. So I will not be part of letting that happen while I'm Attorney General, and I'm sure that you will ask, so I will state to you I am not standing down or aside. I've discussed with the Prime Minister today that after speaking with my own doctor, I'm going to take a short period of leave to assess and hopefully improve my own mental health. All of my life, I've just pushed through, but for the many caring family and friends who've asked me that question over the course of the last week, are you okay? I've got to say, my honest answer is I really don't know. I'm not ashamed to say that I'm going to seek some professional assessment and assistance on answering that question over the next few weeks before I go back into the field of my duties and resume the role of Attorney General, Minister for Industrial Relations and Leader of the House. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is your defence here that you didn't sleep with the alleged victim or that it was consensual?
I did not sleep with the victim. We didn't have anything of that nature happen between
us.
us.
So what does that say then about the allegations here? Is this something which has been fabricated?
I can't talk to you about the allegations. I can say to you all, it didn't happen. But I can't criticise or mount a defence or cross-examine someone. I'm just not going to do that to the family of this poor woman.
But these accusations have been put against you, so you have to have a defence here. So why do you think this has been put against you?
I don't know the answer to that question. I can only say to you that it didn't happen. Others will trawl over this, I am sure, in the media, in politics. As I say, I've conducted trial after trial myself, but I can't give you that explanation.
Mr. Porter, how do you allow due process, Mr. Porter, to allow due process? Should there be an independent inquiry by a retired judge, as there was in the High Court for Dyson Heydon?
I mean, these are matters for other people to judge.
Would you like to see an independent inquiry so you have the chance to clear your name?
Well, the Dyson Heydon matter was about workplace relations accusations which were contemporaneous, required by health and safety laws. I don't know what it would achieve. Other people will be the judge of this. But it would be the first time in Australian history that a public figure or anyone effectively is put on trial in circumstances where they would be required to disprove something that didn't happen 33 years ago. And if that happened to me, all I could say is what I've said to you today, that it just didn't happen.
Mr. Porter, what are your memories
of the woman who was involved in it? You talked about, you remember the trip very well as a nice trip. What are your memories of her?
Well,
and what was your relationship with her?
I didn't say I remember it very well. I remember it as a happy time. It was 33 years ago. I remember the person as an intelligent, bright, happy person, but I hadn't had any contact from that person at all, to the best of my recollection, in the 33 years since that time in January 1988.
What about that time?
What was your contact with her then?
Well, there were 4 of us on this team. We were friends. We hung out together.
Was it at any time in the relationship?
No, it wasn't.
Were you ever alone, the two of you?
I don't think so. I mean, we did what normal teenagers would do. There were groups of people.
In the last 33 years, have you been in touch with anyone, whether the victim or her friends and family, about these informal allegations?
No one. I guess it's it's so staggering to me that this was circulating out there and no one ever raised it with me.
When was the last time you had communications with the complainant?
That week, I would think, in early January in 1988.
And since then, have you ever asked anyone to contact her on your behalf?
No.
Minister, given that you say that you're innocent and that these allegations came as a surprise to you, why wouldn't you support an independent inquiry that would then clear your name?
Well, I'm not. These are just for other matters, other people to determine whether or not there should be such a thing. What would I say in front of that inquiry? What would that inquiry ask me to do? To disprove something that didn't happen 33 years ago. And I honestly don't know what I would say to that. Of course I can't. Of course I can't.
So, Mr. Porter, there is this hanging over your head. There is this question, and you're not any public figure. You're the first law officer for the land, the Attorney General. So should you not step aside so that Australians can have faith in the legal system?
I think that in the statement that I've given you, I've tried as best I can to address why I think that would be the wrong course. Because it would mean in this hyper-politicised world that we have, that any allegation would basically mean, if it weren't resolved through a court process to some group's satisfaction, that the person has to end their life and their career.
Mr. Porter, are you saying that the specific allegations, there are very specific allegations that have been made, quite obviously, and you're saying that there's no truth in them at all, they're very detailed?
It's exactly what I'm saying. All I have by way of the allegations is what I've literally read, the same things that you would have read. They just didn't happen.
You say no journalist or no media organisation has put those specific allegations to you at any time?
Never.
In late June 2020, you said that sexual harassment allegations made against Dyson Heydon were very concerning and incredibly serious, and as Attorney General, you asked your department to investigate the matter. Dyson Heydon also strongly denied the allegations. Do you accept that the nature of the allegations made against you, even though you deny them, are so grave and serious, especially considering your position as the first law officer of the Commonwealth, that they warrant an independent investigation?
Well, I can only say that these are decisions. Obviously, I can't make that decision because I am the subject of the allegation. The difference between what occurred in the investigation of the Dyson Heydon matter is I think that they were workplace bullying or harassment allegations where there is a requirement under the relevant health and safety law to conduct an inquiry. You're talking here about a civil determination of a criminal allegation on presumably the standards of balanced probabilities, where I would be asked to disprove something that just didn't happen 33 years ago. So if that happens, I couldn't succeed to disprove something that didn't happen.
In her statement to the lawyer, the complainant said that the incident in question happened on the evening of 9 January 1988 in her room at the Women's College at Sydney University during the University Debating Championships. What do you recall of the events of that night?
First of all, I've never seen that statement. No one's provided it to me. I've never been asked on it before. It was a long time ago, but I can just say to you that the things that are written and said to have happened, wherever they're said to have happened, that's the first time that it's been put that they happened in someone's room, they just didn't happen.
The complainant has provided a photo. She provided a photo of the two of you sitting at the formal dinner that night. Do you remember that dinner or sitting next to her?
I'm sure there was a formal dinner that night. I'm sure that's the case. I mean, we were a group of people who were going out, debating during the day, going out to functions and things at night. I'm absolutely sure there would be such a photo.
She's more specific about that. She's more specific in her statement. She says that you and she and a group of others had been out for dinner. You'd then gone dancing at the Hard Rock Cafe, and then you walked her back to her room. Do you recall that? And what's your recollection?
That may well be the case.
You don't remember that?
Look, it is 33 years ago. I remember 2 evenings that week. One was a night with at one of the colleges with bowls of prawns, which sticks in my mind. I do remember a formal dinner and going out dancing. Sounds about right.
Do you remember
sexual
relationship
at all?
No.
Mr. Porter, no sexual involvement with anybody on that trip?
Well, just no.
Could you have forgotten it or misconstrued it? You've said it's 33 years ago. You don't remember the detail of the dinner as you walked home.
Could I have forgotten? Could I have forgotten the things that have been printed? Could I have forgotten or misconstrued the things that I have read, which are said to have occurred? Absolutely not. They just didn't happen.
Minister, have you ever been the subject of any other complaints of this nature? Are you aware of any other women in your past who could make similar allegations?
No. No to both those questions.
Have you ever had anyone, have you or anyone on your behalf ever asked someone to sign a non-disclosure agreement?
No.
Mr. Porter, it's one of the problems here, Mr. Porter, that your government...
Sorry,
Mr. Porter, it's one of the problems here is that the government which you're a part of has said that it believes victims, it believes survivors, and yet, with respect, you're standing here saying that it didn't happen. Isn't that somewhat incongruous and difficult now?
I just, having
There
myself,
is a difficulty there though, isn't there?
having myself run trial after trial after trial, like serious matters, helping victims, women and children, every absolute effort has to be made to take allegations seriously, to pursue them through the court process, and it is an arduous, gruelling process. And I did that on their behalf. But equally, the other side of that process is there's rights, and there are circumstances where someone might absolutely believe something, but it might not be a reliable account. That is actually why we have a justice system. It's why we have courts and the presumption of innocence and burdens of proof. That's why we do these things in that process and not like this.
So her specific allegation, Mr. Porter, the specific allegation in the statement to her lawyer was that then you took her back to her room allegedly, and allegedly then forced her to perform oral sex on you, and then after you raped her twice. What do you say to that?
It didn't happen, and it's
Do you
not
think
true.
the Prime Minister's and the Cabinet colleagues are going to stick by you?
My colleagues are doing, I think, a very, very good job in the most difficult of circumstances.
But do you think they're going to personally continue to support you?
You'll have to ask my Cabinet colleagues, but if this is the new standard, that anyone in Cabinet resigns because there's an allegation against them, no matter how serious, if allegation equals resignation, I'm not sure that anyone in any position of authority, Cabinet, Labor or Liberal, would think that that's a standard that they want to be put to.
Did they encourage you to come forward, and do you have the full backing of the Prime Minister?
I spoke with the Prime Minister this morning, and that full backing is there. I asked the Prime Minister for a short period of leave just so I can assess where this is at.
Just on the timeline of when you first spoke to the Prime Minister about these allegations. When did you first speak with the Prime Minister about the allegations?
I spoke to the Prime Minister about the allegations on Wednesday, I think, of last
week.
week.
And did he show you the detailed letter that was provided to him?
No, it had been sent to the AFP.
So are you able to effectively do your job while these allegations are untested and your integrity is under question?
Well, I'm going to take a couple of short weeks leave just for my own sanity. I think that I will be able to return from that and do my job, but those questions, I feel in myself that I can do my job, and I'm no different from the person who was doing the job 2 weeks ago.
Does the Attorney General need to be beyond reproach?
Well, no one is beyond an allegation. No one. I mean, just can I just but just if you could just imagine for just, and I know that, you know, we're all cynics, and this is a hard and tough and fast environment that we're all, but just imagine for a second that it's not true, that for whatever reason the recollection and the belief, which I'm sure was strongly held, is just not true. Just imagine that for a second.
Mr. Porter, if this was a football club or a corporation or a company or even the High Court, you would stand aside while this was investigated. Would that not be better for you and for everybody?
As again, no one has ever informed me about what was occurring with New South Wales Police. But as I understand it, there was a complaint made at some point. The complaint was withdrawn. There was a primary investigation, if I can call it that. The additional material, which I've never seen, which some of you have put to me today for the first time, it appears has been provided to New South Wales Police. They've looked at that, they've investigated, they've sought advice, they've closed the matter.
They've determined that evidence is not admissible in a court of law. We're not in a court of law at the moment, we're in the court of public opinion.
With respect, that's what a police investigation is
Yes.
determined. But again, New South Wales Police have never contacted me. I don't know what processes they went through.
In the court of public opinion, can you survive the court of public opinion?
I'm not commentating on survival or politics. I'm simply saying to you all that I did. It just did not happen.
When you
So you can-
spoke
you can
to
assume-
the
Mr. Porter, you
Prime Minister and he spoke about the situation with you, what advice did the Prime Minister give you?
Sorry,
What
the
advice
question
did the Prime Minister give you
When?
you first spoke to him about these allegations?
last Wednesday. Well, the Prime Minister had received this letter that was circulated and then has been put to the AFP. He explained that he'd received that. I'm not aware that he went into that letter, or his office did in any detail. He sent it, as the AFP Commissioner had said, to the authority which was the AFP. Now, we had a discussion about it, and it's obviously a distressing situation, and he acknowledged that. But the discussion wasn't...
Advice as to how to proceed.
No, I mean,
What exactly was said between you and the Prime Minister when you first spoke about it? What did you tell him and what did he say to you?
well, he said that he had received this material. Or I
Did
actually,
he approach you?
I actually think that someone had put to him that the material had been sent, and his office had looked to see if it had been received. I went to his office at his request, and he said that he had received the material, that I was the subject of it, and that it had gone to the AFP.
So
Mr. Porter, are you going to
didn't
take
read
any
the letter.
defamation
You
action
didn't read the
against
letter that the Prime Minister, you didn't read that detail?
No,
in the
I-
media reports?
As I say, I was aware of a rumour.
But these
But you
rumours
Just-
are not
I-
your
but-
office didn't
but
get
I
back
had,
to make
I had,
comments.
no one has ever put the specifics of an allegation to me from the media.
They have used them
Enforcement,
returned.
or that's not correct. It's not correct.
When were you first aware of a rumour, of any rumour from any person?
About November of last year, I think.
So we
Did
now
you
know
ask
that
the Prime
the
Minister's
we now
office to
know
speak
that
to
the
her?
deceased took her own life in Adelaide in 2020, following meetings in which you were the centre of conversation in terms of the meetings that she was having. Is it right that you remain the first law officer of the Commonwealth of Australia while a report on this woman's death by the South Australian Police is yet to be handed to the South Australian Coroner? Is that correct? That you retain that position?
First of all, I don't know anything about the circumstances. I just don't. Whether I was a point of discussion or not, I don't know. The status of the South Australian report, which is a thing that police do as a preliminary matter for the coroner, I'm unaware of.
Also on your
I don't know whether there will be a coronial investigation.
Mr.
Porter,
Porter,
are you
are you going to take
Are you
defamation
confident,
action?
Mr. Porter, that no other women will come forward with other allegations
Yes.
in different jurisdictions?
Yes.
Mr.
Mr.
Porter,
Porter,
do you
you're going to
remember whether
take-
there was a time that you spent alone with this person?
Look, I mean, it's not impossible, but I've never been in the person's room or anything like
Did you
that.
ask her to
What,
buy
had
you a
you been
shirt, for
drinking?
instance?
I did read that. I did read that as part of the material, and I recall it sparked a memory. There were 4 of us, three boys, and this person whose name I can't even say because of the situation we're in. I don't think any of us had ever ironed a shirt before. And I recall she showed us how to do that. I remember that.
So that's a very specific
apparently
claim that you
in her
remember,
room.
and that you don't remember having any other kind of relationship with her, of no doubt.
But it's because I didn't.
But the
Why
shirt
did
was
you-
ironed
Mr.
in
Porter,
her
Mr.
room,
Porter,
so
when
does
she
that
ironed
mean you
your
were
shirt,
in her
when she
room?
ironed your shirt for you, she claims that you said that she would make a wonderful wife one day. Do you
Look,
remember that?
I mean, I don't remember that specifically, but it's not impossible that that was said in a
You
joke.
said
You're
that
going to
her
begin your own
recollection
defamation.
is
You're
what
going to
was
begin
very
your own.
strongly
You're going to
held.
sue Mr. Porter, but you're going to begin your own defamation proceedings.
Look, over the last week, so much has been said of every imaginable type, and some of the stuff online is just incredible. I will look at it all.
Why do you think this woman would come up with such an elaborate lie?
It's just people. I don't know. I don't know what her circumstances were. I don't know.
Has she confused you with someone else?
I couldn't answer that question. I mean, I know about the person what I've read. I don't know about her life or what challenges she faced or anything like that. I hadn't seen or heard or had contact in 33 years.
Did you have a girlfriend in
What's
person
he
at the time?
Sorry?
Did you have a girlfriend in person?
I think I did, yeah. But like I was 17. I think I turned 17 about 6 months before that. Like I was a boy.
As Attorney General, you sit on the National Security Committee. How can the Australian public be confident that you're not at risk of being compromised when such serious allegations are being leveled against you?
Well, can I say this to you, that being compromised or blackmailed is usually about things that you don't want to have publicly, right? Thanks to this situation, everyone knows about this. I'm just saying it didn't happen.
So Mr. Porter, about efforts to remove details of your debating trip in 1988 from Wikipedia.
I've never heard of such a thing.
I
did not know that debating trips were on Wikipedia.
Porter, you have said that the complainant's recollection is obviously very.
Can I just say, like, these conspiracy theories that are just everywhere, like, including about the circumstances of this poor girl's death. I mean, it's just absolutely wild.
Minister, just to clear up that timeline a little bit, the Prime Minister said that he wasn't aware of these allegations until Friday afternoon. He hadn't received a copy of the letter until Friday afternoon.
Well, it might have been a...
Was it Wednesday?
No, he said Wednesday.
Did I say Wednesday?
The Prime Minister said Wednesday.
I think it was Wednesday because I think it was after a cabinet meeting.
So you said that you heard rumours about this in November. Can you tell us where you heard those two? What was
There was a very old friend of mine whom I had dinner with, and she had said to me that a group of people were spreading a rumour that I had in some way offended against the person 33 years ago. But like rumours are, it was just in the vaguest terms.
Mr. Porter, will you be paying personally for your defamation lawyer?
Well, you're assuming a course of action that I just haven't fully contemplated.
Mr. Porter, how does this affect the way that you see your role in public life in the future?
Look, I think one of the reasons why I'm just going to take a couple of weeks off and so I'm not ashamed to say I'm going to seek some support and assistance is that if something like this happens to you, just that you never in a million years expect, I'm sure it will change my views on a whole range of things.
Guys, we're going to take one more question. We're going around in circles.
Mr. Porter, the complainant's friends, Mr. Porter, says that they remember her as brilliant and someone who thought she would be Australia's Prime Minister. What are your recollections of her?
I remember her as a bright, happy person, but I don't dispute anything that her friends would say about how they recollect her.
Is your recollection flawed? You have said her recollection is obviously strongly held. Could your recollection be flawed by your own perception?
I will finish by saying that the things that I have read did not happen, and to suggest that they could be forgotten is ridiculous. They just never happened.
You forgot you ironed her shirt. You forgot you ironed her shirt.
Guys, there's no filming in the corridor, please. You can't film in the corridor.